Hi, I'm Chad. Welcome to Maker's Bench. I'm really excited today. We're going to do a video on the Boba Fett helmet, and I haven't done one for a while because I've been printing it, and I've been having failures and printing some more, and I moved in there and all that other stuff, and I finally got my printer going, and I got the rest of the prints done. So let's talk about it. So let's see. I've got, first of all, when I started printing Boba Fett was, I had to split them up. I used a mix mesher to break my model up into pieces. And so what I did was I cut at the dome. So I separated the dome from basically the face. The band around the top of Boba Fett's helmet isn't completely flat. It can kind of move, it changes a little bit. So I couldn't use the band as the plane. So I just went about 3/8 of an inch, I think, above the plane, maybe a quarter, maybe it's about 3/8 of an inch above the band, somewhere in there. And I just sliced the dome off the top of the helmet, and then I sliced that up into 4 sections. So I had 4 sections for the dome, and I then took the face, or the circular part, the sides and the face of and the back of the helmet, and I started cutting that up. Now there's a grill in the back of the helmet, and I didn't want to cut that right down the middle because I'd have to then put all those pieces of the grill back together. So I basically cut out that grill piece as its own piece, and then I had 2 halves left over. And I thought I would I broke it into 3 pieces, and my thought process there was, if I had a problem with a print, I didn't want to have a big huge print going and be 20 hours into a print and then have a failure and have to redo the whole thing again. I figured if I was printing smaller pieces and I had a problem, it wouldn't be such a big deal. That didn't work out so well for me because I had problems. But so the problems were, well, let's get into some stuff here. And I'll tell you what I did to fix that stuff. So the first thing I did was I took one of my dome pieces, and the dome piece, this was the front piece, it's got the dent in it. I don't know if you can see it there, but the dent is in there. I figured I'd give it a shot. So I used really rough settings, it wasn't very high, it was very low resolution, just a couple of layers and hardly any infill. And you can actually feel how weak this thing really is. But I printed it, and I printed just fine. I stuck it down. There was some supports. There was a little column of supports in the middle. So it printed up with nothing for a while, and then the supports were coming up, and then they merged, of course, and printed the dome. So the first piece I printed came out, I thought, all right, for being a test piece. And so I was like, all right, let's go with that. And that's when I ran into problems. Now, I think in that time somewhere, I was noticing that I was having some problems with bed adhesion. And bed adhesion, my prints were kind of coming off pretty easy. And I was noticing on some prints, as I was printing, edges were starting to come up. So I did a little reading, and what I found was that PEI sheets, I've got the Prusa i3, and the PEI sheet on there, from what I read, it can lose adhesion over time. And I wipe it down with rubbing alcohol before every print. And so anyway, I saw that it was losing adhesion. I did some reading online, and the advice that I found, it was to, it might have been with steel wool or something, to scuff up the surface a little bit. And so what I did was I took some really fine sandpaper, and I kind of rubbed out my PEI sheet with that fine sandpaper. I don't recommend doing that. My bed adhesion got worse, and I started having problems. So what happened was I started printing some of the pieces. Here's, let's see what we got. Here's 6 of them that I started printing my dome. I had the settings turned up. I don't know what order these were printed in, but what would happen was some of the parts would start printing, and then as I was printing, I would notice these pieces, I'm exaggerating, but they were off the edge of the bed, and they were starting to do this, and I knew that they would come off, so I would just stop the print and start over. And they look good, but I would start to see this, and then if I did let some go, and then they get to a certain point, and if you can see all the hairy mess that's on this one just kind of shifted and came off, and I was getting a big mess of hair. I had another one here there's a lot of layer lines and shifted layers and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I was having just a ton of problems with it. And then I did some more reading. And one of the things that I started using glue stick is what I did. And I hadn't used glue stick on my printer yet at all. So I started using glue sticks and all kinds of stuff, and I started getting things to stick, and I was getting prints. And I had the same problem. That was one side of the part of the dome. Then the other part of the dome, this would be the right side of the dome, the front. Same thing, it would start to come up, and they were starting to warp a little bit, and layer shifting, and basically the same stuff. So I had to run through, and I finally got the right combo, I think, of print bed, heat, and glue stick, and I got that down, and I got all my dome pieces printed. And then I started doing some more printing, and what I had done was then I took the face pieces and I cut the side pieces. I had the piece in the back, and I cut into 3 pieces. I took the face piece and I actually cut it in half too. I thought these would be, like with that same theory that smaller prints, if they failed, I thought if I had, this big piece and it failed, and these are tall, skinny pieces too. So I got the first one to print. It printed okay. I thought it was all, I look on here and it seems pretty flat, but if I look at it now, I can see that the back end is rising up here a little bit. And so I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I was like, that's okay. And then I printed the left side of the same piece, but I left the supports in here because I had a lot of supports to print this. I was printing it in this orientation and printing it up. So there was a lot of supports. This piece comes over, there's supports coming all the way up, and then right across the visor, there's just a ton of supports in here. So I never did take the supports off of here because anyway, I didn't take the supports off of there. I printed the bottom piece then of the left side of the face, and I mean, it looks great. It turns out good. This piece even looks really good. They both look great. I was getting really excited, and then I went and I put these things together. And as soon as I put these together, right in here, and so anyway, I was worried about, I had to glue this up, and gluing this up, and there'd been a lot of filling there, a lot of stuff, and the same gap is over on this side too. There's a gap on both sides, so I really didn't want to use this. So I figured I would have to try to print all of this in one piece, and so that's what I did. And I printed, and then I moved. So that was in between there too. So we moved down here. I got the printer going again last week, and what I did was, instead of having those 3 pieces being separate, or 2 pieces being separate, well, there were 3 pieces. There was the top front, the bottom front, and then the side that went and connected to that piece where the grill was. I connected all 3 of those pieces, and it barely fit on my print bed. I'm really glad it did, but it fit. And so what I did was, instead of printing it in this orientation coming up, because I cut right here at the plane for the dome, and I printed the dome right from that spot, I flipped this upside down, and so on the print bed it would have basically looked like this. I printed this, and then of course it also had the piece, and I'll show you that in a second, but it comes back around to the grill. So the whole thing fit on the print bed, and I was able to print it, and it turned out really, really well. One thing that happened was, with my bed adhesion stuff and the glue sticks and all that, I did some more reading, and what I should have done right away, I went to the Prusa website, and I found a video by Joe Prusa where he talked about using acetone to wipe down the acetone if the adhesion level came down. So I started wiping the bed down with acetone. I didn't do it after every print, but I did a really good wipe down once. My bed adhesion got better. A couple prints later, I think I wiped it down again, and my bed adhesion has come back. It's really, really strong again. It's back to being able to I don't need the glue, and it's really hard to get prints off the bed again. So I'm really happy with that. So now that I've got the bed adhesion done, I printed those pieces all at one time. They printed up really well, and I went ahead, I finished all the pieces, I got everything done, and I taped it all up in a dry fit, and I'm going to show it to you. So here it is, the whole thing. The face is right here. I'm gonna try to get some better footage of this here after I'm done filming this video, and try to sneak it in here somewhere. But it's you know, it looks, to me, I'm really happy with it. I think it looks fantastic. It printed out really well. The parts fit really well together. It's not perfect, of course. It's a 3D printed part. There's little blemishes, there's all that kind of stuff on here. The grill came out well, but for the most part, this thing is pretty good. I am very excited about it. For this being the dry fit and being taped up together, I am going to. I'm just pumped. I'm really excited. Very happy with how this turned out, and really looking forward to, stick it there. Really looking forward to gluing it together now. I'm going to glue it together. I got some sanding to do. I've got probably 2 months worth of sanding. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna sand it. We're gonna start to try to finish it, spray paint it, all that stuff. I am going to take video of actually gluing it together. I'm going to try to, I've never, you know, that's one of the things I'm really worried about, you know, gluing this together. I want to get all the seams perfect and get them tight and get them right. I'm going to be sanding the surfaces before I glue them together. I'm going to use super glue. I think that's what I'm going to do. I thought about 5-minute epoxy, you know, getting a 2-part epoxy and having a 5-minute time, but with these pieces, clamping, I don't know how I'd be able to clamp it. I'd have to sit there and hold it for 5 minutes, and I just don't think I don't think it's gonna fly. So I'm gonna try to go with super glue. I think I'm gonna try to tape it together really tight somewhere, and then let it just kind of open up as a hinge, put the glue in, and then close it back up. And the super glue I have, I'm going to use the Gorilla Glue. It's a gel. I think it's got a 10-second working time, so I'm going to have a few seconds to get everything lined up, hold it nice and tight, and get it in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the super glue and baking powder trick to try for doing the filling. And so once I get it together, I will sprinkle some baking powder over it to get the glue, because the baking powder, I guess, works just like one of the spray accelerants, and it makes the super glue activate and harden instantly. And then you can also then squirt more glue into the cracks and sprinkle baking powder into there again, wipe it down, and that's going to be good for filling the cracks, and I can sand it and all that stuff. So we'll see how that goes. I got some of that XTC 3D stuff that you paint on that does some smoothing. We're going to try that, and we're going to sand some more, and I'm excited to do it all. So that's what we're going to do. But yeah, I'm going to do video of gluing it together, and then I'm going to do some, obviously I'll have some videos of sanding it, and that's going to take a while. Very excited, looking forward to doing it. Just wanted to, I'm really excited to share this. I think this is just, I really am pleased with how this turned out. It was really fun to, take something that I modeled, Fusion 360, and like this, and print it and have it turn out like it did. There's a website called The Dented Helmet where people make Boba Fett costumes and stuff, and I've been putting some posts up on there about this build as well. And one of the guys from the website contacted me and wanted to print the helmet. And I do have plans to release, if this stuff works right and it comes out okay, I do have plans to maybe try to find a way to get my files up for free if people want to print it and stuff like that. So I'm willing to share if somebody wants to print it and make their own helmet. But anyway, he contacted me and he wanted to do it. So because he has experience with doing Boba Fett helmets, I certainly wanted to let him do it and see what he thought of it. And if it all works all right, we're going to get these files up for people to download and try on their own. So I'm very happy with the way it is so far. We'll see how the rest of it goes. But that's it for now. And thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and do that. Click like or leave a comment. I certainly love, seeing the comments and talking to people. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you and doing that. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.